You can listen to Football for Kids completely ad-free by signing up on Patreon or on Apple Podcast subscription. You can also link Patreon to your podcast player via Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Without adverts, there is no show. This episode is brought to you by our partners at Everton FC. Do you want to go behind the scenes at Hill Dickinson Stadium and explore the club's brilliant new home on the banks of the River Mersey? Now you can. Everton Stadium tours give fans a chance to step inside the dressing room, see where the manager prepares the squad on match days, follow in the footsteps of their heroes, walk down the tunnel to the sound of Zed cars and emerge pitchside for some unforgettable photo opportunities, including the chance to sit in the manager's dugout. How cool is that? It's a brilliant day out for football fans, families and anyone who loves seeing what happens beyond the touchline. The tours are fully accessible and open to all ages too. If you fancy seeing Everton's new home up close, booking is online only at evertonfc.com/tours. Hello grown-ups. Are you already starting to think about the summer holidays and how to keep the kids busy? Yeah, I thought you might. Today's podcast is brought to you by Kellogg's Football Camps, a brilliant solution for families looking to keep kids active, having fun and building confidence this summer. With camps for girls and boys aged 5 to 15, Kellogg's are offering over 39,000 free places at sessions hosted by over 70 pro football clubs across the UK. From Colchester to Cardiff, Glasgow to London. It's a great chance for kids to get out, to play football and make new friends over the summer break. To book a free place, just buy a promotional Kellogg's Football Camps pack and scan the QR code to choose a club near you. T's and C's apply, subject to availability. To the Football for Kids podcast with me, Darren Rees, and welcome to another brand new episode. This one is on Bukayo Saka. I know what you're thinking. If you've been listening to the show for quite some time, you'll know that I've done an episode on Bukayo Saka. The last time I covered an episode on him was all the way back in January 2023, over 3 years ago. And as you can probably imagine, a lot has happened between January 2023 and now. And by the way, if you're listening to this in 2030, I'm recording this in May 2026. So in this episode, we're going to be going on a journey with Saka from January 2023, when the last episode ended, all the way to the current day, the 26th of May 2026. And just a very quick message to say that I have had hundreds of messages in recent weeks all about the new series of Kids vs Adults, or the next series. Well, there won't be another proper series of Kids vs Adults until the end of the year. There is a World Cup special which has already been recorded and an episode is already out on the main podcast. The whole World Cup special Kids vs Adults series is out now and available on Patreon and on Apple Podcast subscription. So, if you're a supporter on there, you can get your hands on it straight away. And if you're not, then please do consider becoming a super listener and helping me to keep the show going and flowing. Right then, in January 2023, Arsenal were flying, top of the Premier League. The Emirates was bouncing, the fans were dreaming, and out there on the right wing, Bukayo Saka was becoming one of the most important players in Mikel Arteta's team. Every week, defenders knew what was coming. Saka would get the ball, slow down for a second, and then suddenly, he was off. Left foot, right foot, quick shuffle, defenders spinning around like he'd just stepped onto a fairground ride after free hot dogs. That season, Saka played 48 times for Arsenal and scored 15 goals. He was brave, clever, calm and unbelievably consistent. Arsenal didn't quite win the league that year. They finished behind Manchester City. But something big happened in May 2023. Saka signed a new contract with Arsenal until 2027. For Arsenal fans, it felt like a message. The boy was staying, and this story was just getting started. The next season, Saka went up another level. In 2023-24, he scored 20 goals and made 14 assists for Arsenal in all competitions. That is 34 goal contributions. In normal human language, he was causing absolute chaos. Defenders would double up on him, kick him, shove him, crowd him, probably ask him very politely if he fancied playing on the other side of the pitch instead. But Saka kept coming back. And then came a bit of a special moment. It was October 2023 during a 5-0 win over Sheffield United. Bukayo Saka was given the Arsenal captain's armband and led the team for the first time as a captain onto that pitch. Imagine that. The boy from the academy, the quiet kid with a huge smile, he'd worked his way up from the very bottom, now leading Arsenal. Soon after, he reached 200 appearances for the club. Still young, still learning, and still getting better. But now everyone could see it. Saka was not just one of Arsenal's best players, he was becoming one of their leaders. Then came the Champions League, the big lights, the famous music, the competition where the best clubs in Europe come to play. For Arsenal, the 2023-24 season was their first time back in the Champions League 4 years. And for Bukayo Saka, it was a chance to show the whole world how he could do it on the biggest of stages. Did he look nervous? Well, not really. On his Champions League debut against PSV, Saka scored and Arsenal won 4-0. First night, first goal, lovely old stuff. And Saka didn't stop there. Across his first 24 Champions League games, he was involved in 20 goals, scoring 12 and assisting 8. That put him near some seriously famous names. Haaland, Mbappe, Kane, you name them, he was up there with them. Saka was no longer just shining in England, now Europe was watching him too. Then came Euro 2024, and for Saka this was about more than football. 3 years earlier, at the Euro 2020 tournament, which was played in 2021, he had missed a penalty in the final shootout against Italy. He was only 19 years old. What followed was horrible. It was horrendous. It was terrible. Saka suffered racist abuse, something which is never acceptable. It never has been, and it never will. But Saka did not let that moment define him. At Euro 2024, he came back stronger. In England's opening game against Serbia, he helped create the winning goal for Jude Bellingham. Then, in the quarter-finals against Switzerland, England were in trouble. They were 1-0 down. The dream was wobbling, and Saka got the ball. Right wing, cut inside, left foot, whack, straight into the corner. England were level. That match went to penalties, and this time Saka stepped up again. Some pressure, some thoughts of the past. But did he score? Of course he did. Calm as you like, England went through and Saka was named the player of the match. Not because he had never fallen, because he had fallen. He'd got back up and he kept walking forward. And that's what you gotta do when times are tough. Then came the 2024-25 season, and Saka started like a rocket with boots on. He was setting up goals, creating chances, frightening defenders, and making the right wing look like his own personal playground. By the end of November, he already had 11 Premier League assists. 11! That is not normal. That is somebody check his boots for magic buttons type of stuff. But football can be cruel, because when you play and you just don't stop playing, well, it tries to stop you eventually. In December 2024, Saka suffered a serious hamstring injury. And suddenly, the boy who always seemed to be there for Arsenal wasn't. He was gone. No more bursting down the wing, no more left foot curlers, no more defenders quietly panicking when they could see him on the team sheet. He had to stop. And for a player like Saka, that can be one of the hardest things of them all. Because sometimes bravery is not playing through the pain. Almost always, it is resting, healing, and trusting that your story is no way near finished. You've just got to be patient. And then comes a comeback. After months out injured, Saka returned for Arsenal in April 2025 in a game against Fulham. Now, most players who come back from a serious injury might need a little while to get going. A few gentle touches maybe, a careful jog, maybe a quiet thumbs up from the bench. Not Saka. 7 minutes after coming on, he scored the winner. 7 minutes. That's not a comeback, that is a superhero entrance. Then came Real Madrid in the Champions League at the Bernabeu. The white shirts were aplenty. They were in a giant stadium. The sort of place where even the grass looks like it knows its football history. In the second leg, Saka missed a penalty, and for a moment he thought, oh no. But this is the important bit. He didn't hide. Later in the game, he ran through on goal and chipped the goalkeeper, Thibaut Courtois, of all people. Cool, brave and beautiful it was. Arsenal were heading to the Champions League semi-finals, and Saka had shown something every young player needs to know. Missing does not make you weak. Hiding afterwards does, and Bukayo Saka did not hide. He got stuck in and he made something of the moment. But the thing about Bukayo Saka is this. He's not just brilliant at football, he's brilliant at being Bukayo Saka. He grew up in Ealing in West London. And before he was twisting Premier League defenders into human spaghetti, he was working hard at school too. At Greenford High School, Saka did brilliantly in his GCSEs. So yes, he was not just clever with a football at his feet, he was clever with a pen in his hand as well. And that tells you something important. Talent is amazing, and since January 2023, my goodness have we seen that. But attitude, that is the engine. Saka is famous for his smile, his kindness and his joy. And it's said that with England, he has become a player who's made everyone laugh with his spelling challenges. Imagine being at a World Cup with millions watching, big pressure everywhere, and Saka is there saying, right lads, spell aesthetic. That is why people love him though. He plays with courage, but he lives with joy. And away from football, Saka has shown something just as important. He understands that being famous is not only about trophies, boots and big stadiums, it's about helping people, especially when you're in a position like he is. Bukayo Saka has spoken openly about his Christian faith and how important it is to him. It helps him keep grounded, calm and grateful, even when the pressure around him is gigantic. But I guess the most powerful thing is what he does with his platform. In 2022, Saka worked with the charity Big Shoe to help fund life-changing operations for children in Nigeria. Children who needed serious medical help were given a chance to feel better. That is bigger than a goal. That's bigger than an assist. That is using your success to lift someone else. Anyway, I wanted to touch on that because we didn't speak about too much of that stuff in the first episode. Back to the journey since 2023. By the time the 2025-26 season arrived, everything felt different. Arsenal were not just chasing anyone, they were expected to win. After finishing close in previous seasons and getting loads of stick about bottling the league, the message around the club was simple. Now it was time to turn a promise into silverware. And once again, Bukayo Saka was right at the centre of it all. For Arsenal, he was the player teams feared. For England, he had become one of the best players and one of the ones that they trusted more than anything. That is a big thing. When you are so young, people talk about your potential. When you become a leader, people start relying on you. And Saka was now being relied on both for the club and for the country which he represented. Goals, assists, big matches, big moments were everywhere. And at this time, he's still in his early 20s. But back to the 2025-26 season, and by now, teams had a big problem. Everyone knew how dangerous Saka was, so defenders started crowding around him. One defender, two defenders, sometimes he'd have three of them at once. But great players learn how to adapt. If Saka could not always fly past people in open play, he would find other ways to help Arsenal. And one of the biggest ways was from corners. With that magical left foot of his, Saka would whip the ball into the box of a curl, speed and danger. It's not been a little hope someone gets on the end of it. Oh no. These were proper nightmare deliveries, but they were perfect for the players in the red and white sitting in the box. One of the huge nights at Arsenal was in the Champions League this season. Of course, I'm talking about the 25-26 season. This, of course, was the competition Arsenal had dreamed of conquering for years. By 2026, Saka was no longer just a kid from the academy. He was one of the players Arsenal looked to when the lights were brighter and the pressure was bigger than ever. In the semi-final of the Champions League against Atletico Madrid, the tie was tight. it was tense and horrible. Atletico Madrid are one of those teams who are incredible at defending, and they leave hardly any space to work in. But that is what great players do. They find space when there doesn't seem to be any. Just before half-time at the Emirates, Saka found a tiny gap. One touch, left foot, a goal. The Emirates absolutely exploded. That strike helped send Arsenal to the Champions League final, which will take place on the 30th of May. And once again, Saka had shown that when moments get bigger, he doesn't shrink one bit. He steps up and he makes it happen. Then came another big Saka milestone in May 2026. Arsenal were fighting for the Premier League title, and every match felt huge. Not quite important, not this could matter later, like proper huge. Every corner, every tackle, every pass. Against Burnley at the Emirates, Arsenal needed a goal. The crowd were tense, the players were searching, and then Saka stepped up to take a corner. Left foot whipped it round, nice bit of curl, the ball flew into the box and Kai Havertz headed it in. Arsenal won 1-0. But that assist meant something bigger for Saka. It helped him reach 50 Premier League goals and 50 Premier League assists. That is some achievement. Only a tiny number of players will ever get to that. Saka has done it in his early 20s. And then Arsenal had to do some waiting. That might sound easy. It must have been horrible. After beating Burnley 1-0, Arsenal had done their job. They had climbed to 82 points. They had fought, tackled, sweated, suffered and scrapped their way to the top. Now Manchester City had to win against Bournemouth to keep the race alive. So Arsenal fans everywhere became Bournemouth fans for the night. Living rooms, pubs, kitchens, bathrooms, people peeking at phones under the dinner table like secret football spies. And then came the result. Bournemouth won, City won. City had dropped points, which meant Arsenal were the champions of England. Finally, after 22 years, for the first time since the 2003-2004 Invincible season, Arsenal had won the Premier League. And so, the red and white confetti fell. It was not just Arsenal's story, it was Bukayo Saka's story too. That boy from London, the academy kid, the quiet worker, the smiling winger. The player who'd been kicked, doubted, injured, tested and still kept coming back. When Arsenal felt short, he came back better. When England needed him, he stepped up again. When injury stopped him, he healed, worked, waited and then returned. When defenders crowded him, he found a way. When the pressure grew heavier, he did not run from it. He carried it. And now Arsenal are champions. After years of waiting, hoping, nearly and hurting, the Premier League trophy is back in North London. And Saka has been there through so much of that journey. From a teenager learning the game, to being one of the beating hearts of that team. But even now, the story is no way near finished. Because next comes another dream, the Champions League final. And maybe you're listening to this when Arsenal have already won it, or maybe they won't. But regardless of what happens next, remember this. Bukayo Saka was not born with a magic cape. He built his own superpower. He built it with training, with listening, with courage, with kindness, with schoolwork, with family, with faith and with setbacks. And that is the part which belongs to you, the kid listening to this today. Because you might not be playing at the Emirates today. You might not be taking corners in front of 60,000 people. You might just be in the park, in the garden, on the playground at training on a cold evening, or in the blazing hot sunshine. But that's where dreams start, not under the floodlights, in the quiet moments, in the extra pass, the extra run, the extra touch of a ball. Saka's story tells us something powerful. You do not have to be the loudest to lead. You do not have to be perfect to be great. You do not have to win every battle to become a champion. You just have to keep going. Work hard, stay humble, and be brave. And who knows, one day, someone might look up to you and say, that kid never, ever gave up. And remember, if you know someone who loves football just as much as you do, then please tell them about the Football for Kids podcast. And whether you're playing football soon, watching it on the telly, or pitchside, I hope that you enjoy the game. See you next time.